Well, the U.S. Congressman Ami Bera, who is on the verge of passing a resolution in the U.S. House of Representatives where he says that there is bipartisan support in the United States to improve the overall and reinforce the overall relationship between the United States and India. This, of course, comes at a time when the relationship between the two countries has been particularly troubled. Joining us now, Mr. Ami Bera. Thanks very much for joining us, for this exclusive conversation. I'm very interested to know the resolution which you propose to introduce. It comes at a time when, it's been a problematic relationship for various reasons. Do you believe that your resolution will go some way in trying to address these concerns?
Yeah, I think so. When I was in India last September, leading a CODEL, we saw some of the strengths in the relationship, some of the statements that President Trump had made, 50% tariffs, the $100,000 fee on H-1Bs. All of these were putting a strain on things. And when I returned, felt it was necessary for Congress in a bipartisan way to express the strong support of the U.S.-India relationship. So even if there are some bumps in the road right now, our strategy has been the same for 3 decades to strengthen the relationship. And I think it's important for this to be a bipartisan resolution, Democrats and Republicans speaking with one voice.
And do you therefore have bipartisan support?
We do. We have close to 30 co-signers at this moment. Obviously, it was difficult because the government was shut down, so can't have regular interaction with my colleagues, but equally split between Democrats and Republicans, and we'll keep it that way. You've seen a number of letters and other things, statements of support that have been Democrats only or Republicans only. I think it's important for us to speak with one voice, and the resolution really does highlight the long-term nature, going back 3 decades to President Clinton, to Obama, to Bush, Biden, and Trump, that really has said this is a critical relationship. Again, President Trump recently has said really positive things about Prime Minister Modi, and we want to keep it moving in the right direction.
Yeah, but there's still the entire issue of India and America not having a trade deal. There have been lots of remarks coming out from, let's say, Pete Navarro, the White House advisor. That's been viewed very negatively here in Delhi. There have been very direct insinuations which would perhaps have been avoided. Do you believe that some of the remarks coming out of the White House needed to have been avoided for the relationship to have continued on with the same momentum?
Yeah, I think there's some individuals like Peter Navarro that are not friends of the U.S.-India relationship. And you see in kind of the MAGA world some of the harsh rhetoric against the Indian American diaspora as well. That said, I think it's important for members of Congress, Democrats and Republicans who represent districts across this country, to come together to express our support. This is also a tool where we're going to give it to the Indian American diaspora. So, if you're in Houston or Miami or New York, we want you to take it to your members of Congress and say, this is important to us as Indian Americans to express your support of the U.S.-India relationship. So I see it as a tool to activate the diaspora to get their members of Congress to co-sponsor this resolution and again express the congressional support for this relationship.
So, Congressman, another irritant is the U.S. President's constant references to his role in ending the hostilities between India and Pakistan between the 7th and 10th of May this year. We've had our Op Sindoor. America constantly, or Trump constantly says that. New Delhi says quite the opposite, that this never did take place. And again, this is seen to be an irritant because factually, and as somebody covering this, that's just not the way it happened.
President Trump doesn't consult me on these. So what I can do is use the bully pulpit that I have to say, look, any ceasefire was negotiated by the 2 countries involved, India and Pakistan. Yes, the United States should play a supportive role in this, but any longer term ceasefire or peace deal has to be brokered by the Indians and Pakistan. So again, our role should be a supportive one. And I don't see us being those peacemakers. I see us, facilitating and supporting the Indians and Pakistan talking together.
Mr. Bera, another issue is India or the United States once again referring to Pakistan and India, in the same way, in the same breath, that there's some sort of a linkage between the two. Whereas in the past, our relationship with the United States was very separate from America's relationship with Pakistan. And India has a problem with that linkage being drawn. We have, for example, persistent concerns on terrorism coming out of Pakistan. Therefore, we do not want to be associated with Pakistan at all in the eyes of the US. Again, this is an irritant, isn't it?
Again, I think President Trump's getting bad advice. I think he probably does have some advisors who are not coaching him correctly. Part of the reason for this resolution is we've spent 3 decades separating India and Pakistan. We see India as a vital strategic partnership. You see U.S. companies making multi-billion-dollar investments in India and Indian companies doing the same in the United States. You see the strategic defense relationship with India. From a congressional perspective, none of that is going to change. And again, that was part of what's driving us to do this resolution. You don't see that same dialogue with Pakistan, so the relationship's not the same. You don't see U.S. companies making billion-dollar investments in Pakistan.
Yeah.
We won't be doing joint naval exercises anytime soon with Pakistan. India is a vital strategic partner. I think we have to speak from the congressional perspective that members of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, see India as that vital partner and don't see the equivalency between India and Pakistan.
So the people-to-people link between India and the United States perhaps most important, and in that context, the question on H-1B visas is also important. I know India has, the largest percentage of the quota which presently exists, but a lot of people believe that if there are changes in the law, then the dream that many Americans, many Indians have of living the American dream by settling down in the US effectively disappears. Conversely, this impacts the number of students, for example, who travel from India to the United States. That's not something that helps America. So it's all tied up. Do you believe that this needs to be looked at?
I hope not. I mean, again, I think this is an area where President Trump is getting bad advice from folks like Peter Navarro and others, maybe Stephen Miller. If you've been watching U.S. television, you saw the president talk about the importance of having high-skilled workers from around the world being able to come to the United States, especially to fill jobs when foreign companies are making those investments in the United States. So I actually think the president probably does get the need for high-skilled labor, for doctors, others. I also, when I was in India in September, you see the Indian domestic markets growing very rapidly. We talked to some young entrepreneurs. They don't have to do their startup in the United States. They can very easily come to India and do that startup and hire the talent there, prove concept in India, probably at a much lower cost. So I actually think the president's H-1B policy hurts the United States and potentially helps India because, if you're a Microsoft, you might say, okay, well, we can't get the visas we need, so let's just expand our operations in India.
All right, Ami Bera, thanks very much for being with us.